Cool. We are live. Welcome to the after party. Yay!
Oh.
Yay! Right. If you're here in the after party and you want to come and join us, everyone's welcome. Ricardo, I see you're in there. Mate, if you want to pop in, come and pop in. It is drop in, drop out. You can kind of come and go as you please. If you want to come for 5 minutes, want to come for the whole time, yeah, do whatever the hell you want. I mean, it's an after party. I mean, this is the non-serious portion. So we'll probably talk about a couple of things we were talking about. I know there's some people keen to talk about Clive Palmer, so we'll definitely.
Well, I think we'll let Jay continue where he was because I'm pretty sure I had a follow up to what he was talking about.
Well, what I wanted to say is, obviously we've got Gary and Granny in here, and incidentally, Gary, it's awesome to get you on the stream, man. It's really cool. Good to talk face to face. It's
Thank you.
We battle on Twitter on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's good. Good to put a face to the name there, Gary.
Well, I hope I look like my avatar on the Twitter anyway. So
that's what I was about to say. You look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm not convinced you're real.
We probably have Gary's and Granny's answers, probably starting with Granny because I know she has to go soon. Answers to Jay's questions about
we'll throw down to Granny first. Yeah. What are your thoughts on reincarnation, Granny?
I don't believe in it. It's interesting to think about. It's interesting to look at, but no, I definitely don't believe it.
Fair call. Gary, what are your thoughts?
I wanted to. I think I mentioned in the chat earlier that I got into Buddhism briefly when I was transitioning from theism to atheism, and for me it was a way of finding a system which was quite practical in real life and useful, but I still wanted to hang on to that spiritual idea that we live on without necessarily a God. So I did believe in reincarnation for a brief period and was looking into it, but then I let go. As soon as I hit atheism, I let go of that straight away.
The beers are better in atheism. So
if reincarnation existed, then the soul would have to exist, and if a soul existed, we'd have to be able to find some kind of evidence for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a lovely sentiment, I think.
No, you're right. Sorry. Incidentally, Gary, if anyone talks over, just keep talking. Just don't worry.
Especially with me, because
she doesn't shut up. You got to actually just talk over her.
And how much have you had to drink, Jay?
Because this is the second one. This is the second one, but I poured really heavy.
Come on. I'm drinking these suckers. I mean, you're on the... incidentally, Gary, just so you know, because it's your first time here, we've got a little signal. So if Jen starts talking over you and you want me to mute her, just do that, and we hit the mute button on Jen. It's a secret signal. Don't tell Jen, but that's what we do, okay?
I do remember that from the early six packs. There was a couple of sort of in jokes that I picked up on pretty quick, and there was the whole "damn it, Jen" thing, and there was when you would either you or Jay would bump someone off the video live stream as a bit of a prank, and that was quite. I used to love that. It was fantastic.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, it was always interesting when we bump people off the live stream. That was always a good thing to do with someone. So, sorry. Well, you walk into that one.
Every time you bump somebody off, it changes where your position.
It changes the position. Yeah.
So we can play musical chairs.
Well, that's it. It's a bit like the. See, it's funny that the way this is set up. All we need is 3 more people. We can do the Brady Bunch and kind of look down, and it'd be very nice. Yeah,
it's not as much fun as it used to be though, because now you can have 10 people in here. So
yeah, actually, you know what? Well, I mean, the most we had, and because we ran the stream for Mero last night, which I think we had 8 in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Jay and I were doing more important things. That sounded so wrong. I think I need to explain that. Jay and I were playing Diablo 3.
There you go.
So there's actually there's a question going around that Sam and Gary kind of might look a little bit like each other.
Really?
Maybe the other. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't see any of that going on.
I'm thinking that you need a Sam wig, Gary.
Yeah, I just need no, he's too cool. It's all right.
I'm too scruffy.
I think Chris
you're a
and
vagrant
Dave
or
look a
something.
lot alike.
Dave, which Dave?
Critical Cripple.
Really?
Yeah.
Much, no.
Okay.
I tell you what, I think Jay with his beard shaven and where it is at the moment actually looks even more like Jesus than he did before.
No, see, I loved it when he just had the moustache and it was absolutely Jake the Snake.
Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, well, that's true.
There was no two ways.
Hi, Lizzie.
Hey, Lizzie, who's muted herself.
Hello. Hang on, I'm just going to shut the door so I don't get an echo.
Yeah, I can't. It's weird because she's in like a room not too far away, and I'm just like I'm hearing all this talking. We're probably going to hear the door shut twice, so that'll be fun.
Raven says Diablo 3 is a euphemism for something.
Diablo 3 is
Yeah. So tell me, Diablo. Everyone's carrying on about Diablo 3 at the moment. I've never played it. I've always seen it there because it's I play a lot of Hearthstone and World of Warcraft, so it's in my Blizzard.
You never played D3? Wow.
I've never played Diablo full stop.
Oh,
never played
you haven't
anyone?
lived.
Diablo.
Never.
I can level you all.
I am prepared to get into something.
I played early Diablo.
Come and play Diablo 3, Lissy.
No, because then she'd have to use my computer and she's not allowed near it.
Oh,
nice.
him up, Lissy. Tell him to buy you a new one.
It'll run on a potato.
No,
so
hey, Jen, thanks for that. You've just cost me money.
Like Sam said, though, Diablo 3 will run on a potato, so.
Yeah, you don't need a really, really fancy machine, but you want to get a decent enough one so you can play Diablo 4 when it comes out.
It's funny. Raven just said there is no cow level.
There is.
The first greater rift I did last night was a cow. The whole thing, all 4 levels was all cow.
I still haven't gotten a cow level. I haven't played it heaps. Like I basically played through to the end of the story. Shut up, Jen. I was in the middle.
Jen, go ahead, Sam.
I basically played the story.
Frozen.
Oh, fuck this. I'm done. I'll see you guys. I've basically played the story.
Yeah.
And then I think I've done like a third of a season or two where I'd pick up and just play the seasonal because you get to re-level again and that's kind of fun. But yeah, it'll be good to crack on and do some actual riffs.
Yeah, you need Canai's Cube, and then you need to find a bovine bardiche.
Yeah.
And that'll open you up to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good fun. And I'll level you.
I'm going to pop out and head over to Critical Questions.
Hi,
Bye,
Granny.
Enjoy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Hey.
Everyone's leaving us for other shows.
Where's Mindy? Mindy was supposed to come and annoy us.
I've
Not
sent
annoy
her
because
the
I love
link.
Mindy. I can't believe I said that.
Yeah, what's
I
up with
deserve
that?
meeting again for that one.
Okay. Well, no. Actually, I'll just drop you out.
Good job, Jen.
Got to get back into the joke. But I think Mindy was going to come along. So, all right. So I'll throw it to Gary and Lizzie. You were both in the background. You weren't on Six Packs. So, what would you like to add? So, I'll start with Gary first. What are your thoughts on Six Pack tonight? Any you were fairly active in the chat. Any thoughts that you sort of had, or anything you'd like to share with the world?
Thoughts on the show. You tweeted early in the week about what to talk about, and I think when I joined Six Pack very early on, the beauty of the show was there was a bunch of like-minded people just shooting the breeze, and I think that's what I hoped you did tonight, and I think that's what we got. So there's nothing new I'd like to add other than I thought it was a brilliant show, and this is back to the roots of a good bunch of people hanging around and sharing this experience. So thanks for that.
Can I pick your brains? Because you knew about the guy I was talking about.
Oh, actually, I will readily confess I'm just quick on Wiki and Google.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I
knew about it was because I'd watched
a
video about it about 3 days ago, and I was like, oh, that is absolutely fascinating. And I couldn't remember all the details. I was like, I can't even remember the guy's name, but it was brilliant. It just stuck in my head.
So what you should have done there, Gary, is just quickly wikied and just had the whole conversation. Let me tell you everything.
You guys bring up so many interesting topics. Most of these things I find on Wiki the first time I've heard them, and it's like, wow, I've really got to look into that. It's very cool. So.
The difficulty I have is I've got a really good memory for weird shit like that, but I cannot remember names. So I start talking about something, and I go, I have got no idea the name of the person I'm talking about. And that's an important detail when you're trying to describe a story to people. So it just sort of fizzles out, and then I'm looking at the chat. Somebody save me, because I've got no idea.
Yeah, I'll take that job. I'll take the six-pack researcher job, sitting in the background.
Researcher.
So you're
Done.
There's a QI reference at the American.
See what I thought was interesting tonight, and it's so I've been of two minds about the direction with Six Pack, whether we just kind of get on and shoot the breeze, whether we have a bit of a general idea on what we're going to talk about, or whether we have that sort of set topic. And it's what I thought tonight was, I thought tonight kind of flowed a lot smoother when we didn't have anything. Like we found things to talk about. It just kind of went, as opposed to when we go, all right, this is the set topic. Because what I find is we have the set topic. We'll talk about it for about 20 minutes. We'll do our best, and then we'll kind of go, all right, let's just kind of go wherever we want. So maybe we just make Six Pack maybe it's just Six Pack every week. There's no theme. It's just we have a bit of fun.
I actually like that idea, Chris, because that way that gives you the opportunity to grab a theme that we've got from here and do it as a midweek.
Yeah.
Well,
Got other channels for that now as well.
For an hour instead of making a full show out of it. But I'd love to steal Six Pack.
I mean, it does get less views if we don't have a specific topic. I find it gets less views, but I'm not too worried about that at the same time. Like it's my theory, and it's probably going to sound pretty selfish. I do this because I enjoy it. Like I'm entertained doing this, and the way I look at it is if people want to come along for the journey, and if people actually enjoy and like what we do, then fantastic, and come along for the journey. Mindy!
Hi.
Hey!
How is everybody?
How are you?
No.
I'm good. Can everyone hear me okay?
No.
Yes.
Come
Well,
outside.
Perfectly.
Awesome.
So big question: Canada or America? Where are you?
I'm still in Pennsylvania right now.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Scranton.
We're going to be
sorry.
going home in a few weeks. The dog had to be taken to the vet, so we've got to hang out here until she gets the okay.
You don't look right. You're not outside.
When you go back?
What was that?
Does she have to go in quarantine when you go back? Actually, do you have to go in quarantine?
Yes,
when you go
we
back?
all have to quarantine for 2 weeks before I can go anywhere. Yes.
So okay, well at least it's at home. That's something. So in Canada, what does quarantine look like?
Quarantine is staying inside for 2 weeks, not talking to anybody, not going anywhere. They will call and check up on you, and they will be watching us basically. So that's kind of the plan going forward.
Are you going to be able? Because I thought the border was. I thought the border was closed. Are you going to actually be able to go?
I'm a Canadian citizen, so they can't deny me entry to my own country. And then because my husband is an immediate family member, he's allowed to cross with me as long as I guarantee that he has a place to stay in quarantine for 2 weeks and like access to basic necessities, which we do. So he's allowed to come with me.
Okay, so as far as they've got everything set up for like food and all that kind of, you can get everything delivered.
Well, my apartment is attached to my aunt's house.
Oh,
so
cool. Okay.
So yeah, it's a family house. So when we get home, she's offered to do like grocery shopping and stuff. And if she can't, then there's delivery service and stuff because I live in a city.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So it's all planned, and you're looking forward to going home, I assume.
No, I'm not actually, because I mean, where I am in Pennsylvania, it's rural Pennsylvania, so we're out in the countryside. So the virus hasn't been close to us at all. What's that?
You're more safe there at the moment.
Yeah, because I mean, like I've got a cow field out front of us, and there's a big cornfield out back of us. So like, there's no people, and I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to interact with people. We go get groceries once a week, and then that's it. We don't leave the house. So. And the closest hospital to us, which is Gettysburg Hospital, hasn't had a corona case in weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're safer where you are than going home.
I am, but unfortunately, I'm only allowed to stay in the States for so long, and I'm almost up on my visitor visa time, so I have to go home whether I like it or not.
Even though you're married to an American?
Yes, we're in the process of immigration right now. We submitted back in the end of January, and we were told that if we did everything online, that we would be done, everything would be done, and I'd be able to move to the States around June, July. Well, because of COVID, they haven't even looked at our immigration paperwork yet. So we haven't even been assigned a visa number. So this process is going to be a lot longer than we anticipated. So
drags everything out.
I'd
So,
just
Mindy,
say Canada.
what do you think on reincarnation? What are your thoughts on reincarnation?
I don't believe in it. I don't know enough about it to say for sure whether it's right or wrong. I don't believe in it, but I'm also very intrigued about stories of kids that remember past lives. Like, I don't know how to explain that. So that's something that I find extremely interesting and would like to know more about, which kind of has me on the fence about maybe it is real. I'm not really sure, but like I said, it's not one of those things that I've really delved into a whole lot. But
So you weren't Cleopatra in a past life, or?
I love how when people talk about being reincarnated, that they're like they were someone famous. I'm like, we all can't be Cleopatra in a past life. That's not how that works.
Notice how no one ever says. No one ever says, "Yeah, I was Stalin in a past life." Notice how that never happens.
Remember was Alexander the Great's chief eunuch?
When I back when I was going through like my pagan phase, we had a little like witchcraft group or whatever, and we did a past life regression meditation. So, and that was really interesting. That was really, really interesting. But for a while, I was convinced that my very first life, I was a slave that in Egypt that helped build the pyramids.
Okay,
and
cool.
that made sense to me at the time because I had such a fascination with Egypt my entire life. Like ancient Egypt was my thing when I was growing up. Like I was convinced that I used to be an ancient Egyptian because my mom went to go see King Tut when he was in Toronto while she was pregnant with me. And I was like somehow convinced that that was where my fascination with Egypt came from. And yeah, so I kind of bought into all of that.
So did you think aliens helped build the pyramids?
No, because
No?
I was convinced that it was people because that was my first life as I was a male Egyptian slave that helped build the pyramids and I was whipped to death and that's how I died.
That's a bit gruesome.
It is, yes, it really is. But I mean,
you know what the really bad part about that is? That slaves didn't build the pyramids.
Yeah, I'm more aware of that now.
Slaves probably did.
No, artisans built the pyramids. Slaves did some of the work, but most of the work was done by artisans. They were actually paid for it.
The design work was one thing, but the actual lugging of there was definitely slaves.
That was done by animals, mostly the lugging.
Some of it, but yeah, there was
Were you there,
definitely.
Chris? Were you there?
Yeah, were you there, Chris?
Were you there?
Can you test this on a laboratory?
Did you see it?
No,
Were you there?
No, and you know what?
The science right now.
You have just convinced me that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Yay!
In Ham we trust. In Ham we trust.
In Ham we trust.
Something interesting I've actually picked up here, and
Kenny Ham's wife gave him a ham job.
They probably sleep in separate beds, and it's maybe have marital relations once every year. But now that they're too old, it's probably God wouldn't like that.
It's probably the only time he washes is right after marital relations.
Unless actually,
that's even worse.
Maybe she's got slave girls. I mean, that's pretty biblical. So if she's got sort of slaves and servants that could serve him, maybe Ken's got a harem. I mean, you don't know.
Living the dream,
Jen, don't spit the drink. Don't spit the something interesting. Something interesting I've picked up, and actually I've picked it up from Gary and I've picked it up from Mindy, and it's also I've got a similar situation. You mentioned you had a transition religion, Gary, of Buddhism before you went to atheism.
Here you go.
Mindy mentioned paganism. For me, it was actually Hinduism. I looked into Hinduism when I got out of Christianity because I was looking for something. It's I didn't want to not believe in something. So that's interesting. What about you, Sam? Did you have a transition religion between, or did you just go Christian atheist?
My transition was I assume I'll go back to the church one day.
Yep.
So for several years, I was like, I'll probably end up back at the church.
I've got to ask now, Chris, is that why you picked Hinduism when you debated certain persons?
Yeah, because I knew enough about it to actually have the discussion if I needed to. Originally the plan with Darth Dawkins, what I was going to do was I was really going to be a complete dick about the whole thing. I was going to start with Hinduism and then go, look, you know what? I'm convinced now that Hinduism is wrong. I've just become a Scientologist. Prove to me Lord Zenu didn't exist. But we didn't get to go down that path because he kind of got a little bit angry and went, "You're not taking this seriously." I'm like, dude, I'm using your arguments against you. You're proving my point here.
The funniest thing about that was me and Chris had this conversation before the debate. That was the funny part.
When I said to you, I'm going to tell him I'm a Hindu, and I think I just got this wah ha 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 ha. Seriously, I'm just like, yeah, this is how this is going to go.
I totally.
Like, here's the heads up.
You shouldn't have told Jay at all.
Why?
It would have been brilliant, and you should have made Jay try to make Jay believe it. See,
Jay knows me. Jay's too smart for that.
Yeah.
Did anyone see that
thing as well?
Yeah.
Did anyone see the Richard Marsden interview?
By the way, I went through Pagan.
The one I did with him, or
no? Sorry, Jen. The one that Darth did with Richard Marsden on Math's channel.
I've got that on my playlist. I actually want to watch that because Richard's fucking crazy. I love him. He's a nice guy, but he's fucking crazy.
It is brilliant because Darth is just unable to comprehend Richard's worldview. And Richard's so confident and articulate about it, and he answers every question. And Darth, just a spoiler alert, Darth rage quits because he can't get his head around Richard's worldview. And
there's a surprise.
Exactly. But Richard's awesome.
Darth rage quit? No,
never happened.
Never.
Gary, you can't come on this channel and spread lies. I mean, Darth would never rage quit. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there is a recording of a thing that happened off stream. And I don't think it's ever going to go on stream because, where Dave and I talk with Richard about science, and we go through all the science and what's wrong with all of Richard's ideas, and Amanda was part of that, and she's going absolutely nuts in the background about it because of everything Richard's saying.
I love him. I think he's awesome. Like, I don't believe what he believes, but I think he's awesome.
Discussion, but
he's a nice guy. And see, when I first started talking to him, I thought this guy, his views are really crazy. But then when I sat back and thought about it, okay, his views, are crazy, but so is mainstream religion. I mean, his views are just a unique version that he's come up with, and it's no more crazy or less crazy than anything else that's put out there.
I've listened
with no offense to the religious in the room.
I've listened to Richard, and I can't bring my head around the what the hell he thinks. It's just the stuff that comes out of his mouth. You're going, huh?
Look, I understand what he's saying, and it's a complete belief position, and he's misinterpreted the Bible, and I can confidently say he's misinterpreted the Bible because I've freaking studied the thing, and what some of the things he talks about is, no, that's not what that means, and it's actually very blatantly and clearly about this. I mean, for me, when people are using the Bible as a foundation for anything, though, I've got a problem with it because the Bible, the Old Testament, was written in around about probably 500 BC when the Jews were in captivity in Babylon. So King David and Solomon and all that, they were probably very small regional leaders. They probably weren't these grand kings that are described. It was a book that was designed to lift up a nationalistic, sort of spirit in the Jews or the Hebrews at the time to sort of get them to reclaim their original homeland. It's got about as much fact in it as Mein Kampf had. It was just it's a nationalistic book, and that's the way you've got to look at it. And it was written for a certain time, and when people start going, Moses this, Abraham that, and Ezekiel and any of the other prophets, it's just kind of like, well, yeah, sure, but we know they didn't exist. And as historians, we know they didn't exist.
Sorry,
Lissy dropped out.
Oh, what else do you think? So let me ask another question then. Do you think the story of Samson was based loosely on Hercules?
I feel like there's too many differences between the two. Like, the only thing they really share in common is they were super strong. But like Hercules, you've got the demigod aspect and like the 12 tasks of Hercules and stuff, which has a lot of stuff that I can't map any of that to any of the stuff with Samson.
Well, I guess that kind of was what I was going for, the strength aspect. I wasn't so much talking about the trials and whatnot, but
I'd feel that's just too easy to like naturally have legends about that appear without necessarily needing to be seeded from each other. Like, what if a guy could just, lift 2 cows instead of 1? Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, a lot of things were seeded, though. I mean, a lot of stories were.
But like, I just don't see the seed in that one. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I just don't see the seed.
An interesting thought that went through my head when I moved to a form of paganism between my religions was that because I was so much into science, if you look at the structure of the universe at the large scale and the cosmic web, the structure of the universe actually looks like a brain with neuron connections between galaxies. And if you think of the concept of a Matryoshka brain, a brain just appearing, is the universe itself conscious? Are we a desired entity of the universe itself as a conscious being? And the universe just thinks in a time scales that we can't even conceive. And that was what founded my paganistic kind of beliefs.
It's. I'm hardcore atheist. I mean, even to the point where look, Steve McRae considers I'm an atheist, and if Steve McRae thinks I'm an atheist, I'm about as atheist as you can get. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing spiritual, there's nothing divine, there's no great thought in the universe. It's look. Can I explain how everything sort of started or what happened? No, I absolutely can't. But that doesn't mean there has to be a designer or a creator or a god or anything supernatural. I mean, I look at it this way. It's my life at the moment is precious because it's probably the only one I've got.
Oh, I totally agree with you, Chris. My point in bringing that up was some of the thoughts that went through my head when I went from leaving Christianity to becoming a more spiritualistic, paganistic, not really pagan, but it's my own kind of spiritualistic religion, which when I describe it in Strats, I kind of say, I'm like the Minbari from Babylon 5. That's what I was like. That's how my thoughts went.
I'm rewatching that at the moment. That is awesome.
And then I went from that to becoming an atheist. So, as you know, I mean, I won't categorically say Jesus didn't exist, but I think it's pretty much the case that he probably didn't exist.
I can tell you I actually did a paper on the existence of Jesus, and a lot of it, you take a lot of stuff from Carrier, but that being said, there's no evidence. There's the fact that there's no evidence indicates that most likely he didn't exist. And I know that's a controversial viewpoint, but
that's the thing, though. Like the evidence that people present to prove that Jesus exists do nothing to prove the Jesus of the Bible. They're proving a sort of template or a shadow of the Jesus of the Bible to sort of say, well, there was a man called Jesus who did some things that kind of line up with the Bible, but they're not actually proving the historic accuracy of the Bible having Jesus as the Son of God, who was divine, who committed miracles, who died and raised again. There's zero evidence for that. And the concession to, well, there was a man who's called Jesus. He had some people that followed him. Therefore, Jesus is historical is just...
Was there an itinerant rabbi called Yeshua ben Joseph? It's like saying, well, is there a businessman in America called John Smith?
Yeah.
It's like it's a common name. There weren't a lot of names that they used to use in those times. So Joseph, Mary, Jesus. So I mean, they couldn't even get 12 original names for the disciples. There was two Judases in there, for Christ's sake.
For whose sake? He wasn't real.
That's right.
I'm going to head off
that's
because I'm going to go and spend some time with Steve and Stacey, especially because she's got to work in the morning. She's got to go to bed soonish. So I have been non-thingy with my friends for long enough. So thank you, everyone. Love you all. I will catch you all.
Bye, Jen.
We'll see you soon.
Bye, girlfriend.
Bye.
So Lizzie decided that she wanted to jump out because she was greatly offended by Jay. So I'm fucking with you.
What the hell did I do?
No,
God, don't listen to me. You should know. You should know better than to listen to me. Come on.
No, like, what the
she's
hell did
just-
I do? I ain't said
She
shit
had
at the after party yet.
No. She had to jump out. We've got just remove the microphones on here. No, one of our little ones is up. So yeah, so she had to jump out. So that's okay. Incidentally, anyone who's in the chat who wants to jump in, flick me a message on Twitter and I'll send you the link. So that's fine. It's a bit of an open in and out. So long as I know you. I mean, obviously, we're not just going to let someone random kind of pop in who we don't know, unless you're Darth Dawkins. Obviously, Darth.
Come on, Darth. We've all been drinking. We're good to go. Let's do this.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, it's I don't know about your proper 12. My proper 12 is looking a little bit empty here.
Oh
Jake, so-
man, I tell you what, Ricardo, you can come in. Bring it.
Yeah, Ricardo. Yeah, absolutely. I'm
I
pretty sure we follow
talked
each other on-
to Ricardo briefly the other night on Robert Legere stream.
Ricardo, do we follow each other on Twitter? Send me a message on Twitter and I'll send you the link. Come in. I'd love to chat to you, mate. Really love to chat to you.
So James Henry just asked a question. Says, any of you debated Smokey Saint? No, not that I'm aware of.
I've heard of him though. I've just heard of him. I've been watching all of the Rage's videos to kind of get caught up on.
Yeah.
He's
have-
definitely a wannabe Darth Dawkins.
I actually have Smokey's
Wanted to be that.
email, and I'm thinking about setting up a conversation about what he believes and why he believes.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, he's intense.
Oh, I love it. The Rage, for those of you that don't know, Rage is a raging atheist. And Knock calls him Icky Taint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seen their videos. He's
I
popped
do.
up a lot on modern day debates with different people, and it's been. I've just started watching not his channel, but his content on those debates, and he's pretty hardcore. Yeah, he's pretty intense.
I haven't heard of this person, so maybe I need to check him out. And
He doesn't put out any videos. He just does like 3, 4, 5, 6 hour live streams.
Mhm.
God.
Yeah, they're pretty long.
what kind of psychopath just does live streams? I mean,
Exactly.
seriously,
I know, right?
Chris, that was the word that I was going to bring up in the conversation, but yeah, he does strike me as someone who's like one of those super intense people who I'd happily keep at arm's distance.
Okay. All the
Just
more
my
reason
vibe,
for me to.
Just my personal vibe. He's full on. Yeah.
Yeah, Ricardo, I've flicked you a link in Twitter as well, mate. Jump in. It'd be good to chat to you, actually, Ricardo. It's once again someone who I've seen a lot of, never had a chat to. So and speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Ricardo, how are you, my friend?
Ricardo.
Hi there. How are everybody?
Hey, Ricardo.
Hey.
Hey, Jay.
Good to see you, mate. How's it all going?
Not too bad, not too bad. And if you've not seen streams from Smokey, don't worry, mate, you're good.
Not worth looking at, you reckon?
No.
No, it's like a Dawkins with a younger voice.
Yeah, I don't think he's as good as Darth is, though.
No, not yet.
Well, Darth has had a lot of practice. I mean, Darth just kind of he's been reading from the same script for so long that there's some point where even when you're regurgitating bullshit, you've got to be good at regurgitating bullshit.
Yeah. I think Smokey will get there eventually with the years.
So James Henry's actually asked, who is the smartest theist I've ever debated, or any of us have ever debated? I've really only ever debated. Actually, no, I can't think of his name. There was a preacher I debated on Modern Day Debates, and I'll be honest, I was half asleep at the time, and sort of about 28 hours into a day while the bushfires were happening, and not expecting a debate. But he seemed pretty cluey. The fellow I spoke to the other day, oh God, what was his name? I spoke to him last week. The Christian I spoke to last week, he seemed like he was fairly intelligent.
The newspaper dude, the columnist.
Yeah, he wasn't an unintelligent guy. I mean, I completely disagree with him on a lot of his religious viewpoints, but he seemed like he was pretty. Oh God, and he's, you know what, his name's on the tip of my tongue. That's going to bug me. That's going to bug me until I work it out.
The smartest theist I've talked to. It's probably Ross Burns. He's a very intelligent guy. I know, Sam. Have you talked to Ross, Sam?
Not directly. Like, I did a response video.
Oh, you did the response. That's right. You did the response video on the Aborigines.
Technically, the smartest theist I've ever spoken to is Jay. There we go. we haven't debated, but definitely the smartest theist. That's interesting. So, Ricardo, you're in Portugal, yes?
No, I'm in UK now. Originally from Portugal.
Okay. How are you faring over there with everything that's going on, mate?
In relation to
that nasty cough that's going around.
Oh, okay. No, I've not left the home.
Okay.
The first time in about 3 months was yesterday. I've got I have the ability to be at home and still work. So I've actually not left home.
Okay, that's good if you do it. Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't say I'd blame you on that one. It's I'd probably do the same if I could.
Yeah. Yesterday I had a meeting, and I'm probably going to start having more meetings in the office, which is going to be annoying. But well, it's still also about 30 minutes away from here, so it's fine. I should get in touch with a lot of people.
Incidentally, Kurt Malberg was the person I was thinking of too that I spoke to last week. So that was.
I was thinking his name was Tom for some reason.
I had Kyle in my head for some reason, but I knew that wasn't right at the same time. But sorry, I'm getting told things as we go. So yeah, interesting. So Gary's put a question in the chat, and normally we'd read out Gary's question in the chat, but Gary, you can read out your question in the chat.
I was just curious about you're saying you're a hardcore atheist, Chris, and obviously each of us have friends or family that are probably still hardcore in their religion. And I was just curious about briefly if anyone has issues with how that's avoided in conversations or openly discussed in conversations. If you can think of someone who's super close to you that you're on the other side of that fence, whether you deliberately don't discuss it or you actually regularly discuss the differences in your opinions with someone.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, you go first, Jay, and I'll jump
one of my very first videos, I did a 2-hour chat with my sister, and she's a Christian, and it was when I could talk to her, because she's not one of those hardcore, apologist type thing. She's a believer, but she's not like an apologist type thing. So those kind of conversations I don't have any issues with. There's a couple of people at work that believe, and I have rational conversations with them. It's the hardcore Darth Dawkins type that are really, really hard to talk to. They're just, because you can't, they won't listen to your point of view or your thought process and anything, and that's the hardest part. When you can talk to somebody like my sister or a couple of the guys that I have at work, where they'll actually listen to what you have to say, that's what makes the conversation a whole. They may not believe it, but at least they're willing to listen to your point of view. And I think that's the best kind of conversations to have, is the people that are willing to listen to you. Because like I said, when you talk to Darth is just like, meh.
Darth's a dickhead. Yeah. See, for me, I find that I've got so the people who are still involved in religion that I still speak to, and I did have a lot of people drop me when I left the church, and look, and I can understand that to a point, because I mean, it's people who I was in leadership with, and I think they, there was probably a bit of a sense of betrayal when I left. I get that, whether it's fair or not. look, I've got friends who we try and avoid talking about religion, but we always end up talking about religion. Look, my attitude is I'm very open with what I believe, and if people want to have that conversation and want to open that conversation, I'm happy to have that conversation with them. And even like with Jay today, you know, I had no problem saying to Jay, "Hey, I respect what you believe, but I think you're wrong." And I'll have pretty similar conversations with, I guess, well, I won't say people in the real world, like friends in the real world, because Jay's a friend of mine. But other friends, I guess, from the Christian point of view, who want to have those conversations with me, are happy to. And even because of my involvement in politics, ironically, I had a lot of support from like church leaders who, and I had to sort of say to them, "Hey, I'm not a Christian. I'm an atheist, and if you're going to support me, I just want you to know that." And a few of them are still like, I'm still on the, you know, the pastor's email list. And I'm just like, "Hey, it's, if you want to take me off this, that's fine." And they're like, no, we're praying for you. We want to bring you back. And I'm like, okay, cool. But then I've got like a mate of mine, Dan, and he's a classic example. We used to go to church together. I was in leadership, I guess, over him, so to speak. You know, I helped him through a lot of things. We had some ups and downs. He knows I'm out of the church. We're just friends. We went over to his and his wife's place for, it was actually brunch the other day. It was awesome. They made pancakes. It was really nice. Religion didn't come up once. We just sat around, had a chat, and just like normal friends, sort of catching up. So, and look, he actually goes to a new Hillsong plant. Yeah. So I mean, it's and his wife's probably more into it than he is. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's my belief or lack of belief doesn't define who I am as a person. It's just something that's there. And, you know, if people want to believe what they want to believe, well, that's fine. So long as it's where I draw the line is where it starts to affect what happens in society or other people. So when you know, religions try and get their foothold in politically, yeah, I've got a big problem with that, massive problem with that, and I do see and combat a lot of that, you know, on my side of politics, and also I guess where, you know, things like Jehovah's Witnesses, where they'll refuse to give blood transfusions to children, things like that. I've got big problems with that. So I guess that's probably more where my fight is, rather than with just the regular people who believe, because most people who believe are decent people. They just believe something different to what we all believe here, I guess.
Yeah, Raven, you talk about the belief thing here. Raven actually said something I forgot about, is my sister believes that people and dinosaurs lived at the same time and then the world isn't that old. But she doesn't try to force her belief on anybody. And that's the type of person you're gonna have a conversation with.
Yeah, and look, if she wanted to have the laws changed so that had to be taught in schools, there's a problem there. But if that's just what she believes, I mean, Bobby Mack is my best mate, all right? So I mean, yeah, Bobby Mack, who comes on, he's my best mate. It's like we're friends in the real world. We've been friends for years and years. He's godfather to one of to my youngest child. So I mean, we're very close. He believes some stuff that, in my opinion, is batshit crazy. And there's been a few times where, especially when we're out having a couple of drinks and we'll start talking about it, and it's normally me poking and prodding at him rather than the other way around. But it doesn't change the fact that I think he's a good guy, and we can go watch the footy together. There's a lot of things we can do, and you know, I hate this whole I'm an atheist, so I'm gonna ignore and block everyone who's religious, or you know, it's you're religious, you must be stupid. You know, I'm so enlightened because I'm an atheist. I can tell you, the day I deconverted, I didn't get any smarter. And I think Ricardo's been trying to say something, because I've seen the little icon popping. Ricardo, jump right in, my friend.
Well, first of all, let me say hi to the rest of the panel, because I went, as always, head in first and say hi. No, I was actually. I don't have any that type of arguments. I've a few years back I've stopped having discussions about religion in work context or with work friends, because it just doesn't work. I'll let them be, and I'm also a little bit antisocial, so I go back to my corner and I just hear talk about it and kind of laugh in a way with my inner laugh. At home, my mom is still religious. She's a spiritualist. She follows Allan Kardec. So she believes in spirits, and that when we die, our soul becomes a spirit, and then she can talk to them, and they can talk to her. And she has friends that can write books from people that have died centuries ago and things like that. So we don't discuss that because there's no point. She knows that I'm an atheist. In the beginning, yes, we were all Catholics. When we moved out of the Catholic Church, the whole family was into spiritualism. Since then, I've left that, and I've also tried a little bit of Candomblé, but I've since become an atheist, and then later on I became an atheist. So we don't have that discussion. As soon as she starts talking about abortion being wrong or euthanasia being wrong, that's when I step in, and that's when the big fights then occur. But apart from that, she knows that I will always make fun of her. When she starts talking about hearing voices, I'll go like, "Whoop, you forgot the pills." Yeah, it just comes with the territory. So apart from that, online I have some confrontations. You've probably seen it on Twitter, but it just comes. It kind of depends if the subject is something that really I think they are pushing the boundaries of religion. Then yes, I'll jump in and I'll usually don't take any prisoners.
I'm just going to try to find you on Twitter, Ricardo.
What about you, Mindy? What are your thoughts?
I tend to avoid the topic altogether. Honestly, when it comes to people that are close to me, like right now, because I'm not a permanent resident in the States, we have to stay with my husband's parents because they're co-sponsoring, and they are extremely religious. So I tend to, because we're in the same house all day, if we were to fight about religion, that would be extremely tense, and like that just wouldn't work. So my approach is, because my mother-in-law is so devout that we don't talk about it. We don't. And you know what's really nice is that even though she is very heavily Christian and a believer, she knows that I don't believe, and she does the same thing, where she's very respectful of me as I am of her, that we have differing opinions, and we just don't talk about it. We avoid it because we don't need that tension in the house. That may change later on when my husband, and I'm allowed to move here and we have our own place. But right now, because we're in close quarters, we don't open that. That's Pandora's box right there. We just don't do it. So I tend to keep my argument and all that stuff online because, well, right now that's the only access I have in person. I do have a group of Muslims that I talk to quite regularly, and I tend to avoid discussing beliefs with them as well because I really like them as people, and they do a lot of charity work, and I want to support that. I want to encourage that, but we will clash heads. And I'm afraid as well when it comes to discussing beliefs is that they right now think that they're going to be able to convert me to being a Muslim, even though I have said multiple times that's never going to happen. But I value our friendship to the point where I don't want to risk it by bringing up and clashing heads over religion. So I tend to avoid it because I want to preserve that friendship that we have.
Something actually just in the chat I've seen Master Zenith who's in there, and I've had a couple of conversations with Master Zenith on Twitter, but he saying that his wife and their house friend are both in Hillsong, and then there's him. So that's always interesting when you're the one atheist in a room, and you've got Hillsong. For those who don't know what Hillsong is, it's hardcore, hands in the air, happy clappy. Friendly, loving. They're the ones who put out all the albums that go to #1 in the Christian market. They make a fortune out of that, incidentally. But seriously, and when I say the church makes a fortune out of that. The artists get paid diddly. It's insane. But I might be talking out of not Hillsong experience, but yeah, it's within that when an album's come out and things like that. It's you don't get anything unless you are the church. But yeah, would be an interesting dynamic. See, I think one thing I guess we all go through when we become an atheist is there's that angry atheist phase. And I remember my angry atheist phase, and I basically I went from, I was like the evangelical atheist, and I'm going to tell you all, I'd want to have conversations. And I sort of look back and think, and potentially I probably burnt a few friendships because of it. So that's why when I sort of say a lot of people drop me and it hurt, I'm gonna wear some of the blame for that, because I went from the person who was running the small groups, singing at church, that they'd come to with their problems, and it's like and sort of intimate stuff to, all that time not all that time I've been praying for you, but from their perspective, I'm there praying for them and all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden I go, well, actually I don't believe that now. There is a sense of betrayal, and I get that, and I hope that some friendships will be mended, because to me the friendships are more important than whether someone's up there or not. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I think we do need to be mindful sometimes that we're not too much the angry atheists.
We don't want to seem like we're the problem or the troublemakers, because that's kind of what was happening to me when I first, not that I decided, but first that I realized that I was an atheist, and I started to post a lot of atheist things on my Facebook. And my husband has a lot of really religious family, and I would, if they posted something religious, I would respond to it. And I realized that I was getting very argumentative with people that are very important to us. So I had to transition that and find another outlet so that I didn't, hurt family and friends or hurt relationships and, with that family. So I had to switch gears and went and found, drama and debate groups, religious groups.
Twitter. Isn't Twitter fun? Raven, something you've just put in the chat there, that the words from that song, the amount of times I used to sing that song, that was just before we're getting into the tithe talk, or sometimes it was just before the tithe talk, that our God is an awesome God. As soon as you type that, it's like the music came into my head, and I was really going, our God is an awesome God, he reigns. I'm there sort of getting into the hands in the air and, singing into that microphone. And now we're going to ask you to donate 10% of your income. That was a good come down lead up to, because Pentecostal churches, here's something with Hillsong Pentecostal churches. You go in there, it's the upbeat, you're in there, and it's the pump, let's do this with the upbeat song, and you'll recognize this, Sam. You'll probably know it anyway. Then it's so as you're getting towards we're about to get serious and start talking about can you give us money, it drops a level. So you've got that third song the third song's normally it's a little bit upbeat, but we're starting to ease into the very slow version of something like our God is an awesome God, as we're all standing there, and as everyone has got their thoughts in their head right now, and you're thinking about what God wants you to do with your money. God wants you to be generous because God's going to bless you. I believe that God's going to bless you, and it brings it into that, and then around goes the plate.
The church needs money, so you need to do your duty. But if you have financial problems, we're going to pray for you for those to be solved.
Well, if you've got financial problems, then that's when you really need to double down and really invest in the Lord, because the Lord will invest in you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hear myself say that now, and the scary thing is I used to say that at the time, and I believed it. And there were times where I was like dead set broke, and I'd give extra money to the church in that mindset of the Lord is going to bless me, I'm going to trust, and the Lord is going to bless me. Probably the only thing it does do is it probably gives a bit of discipline with money, and I'll give it that. And the church I was involved in, I was very fortunate. There was a lot of very successful business people in that church, so they would give good advice, and I certainly learnt a lot there. But it's anyway, that was a bit of a side note from that our God is an awesome God, which is actually not a bad song.
It's a good song,
even though it's
really good hook.
I have to go out. I know Jay does as well. Sorry, but I have to go take care of the kids. So Thank you for having me.
That's all right.
That's
right.
It's been a
Well,
pleasure.
we've actually been at about the hour mark anyway, so we might actually end the stream anyway. So an hour is pretty good for an after party, I think. Yeah, well, it's after midnight here, and I absolutely need my beauty sleep like so badly.
I gotta get to sleep myself. I've been getting to that point where I'm having trouble keeping my eyes open. So
you've ruined it for me, Chris. You have this stuff. These shows have ruined it for my life. It's crazy.
Well, it's a good thing it's been COVID then, eh? Because there's not much of a nightlife for most of us.
Yeah.
I gotta go, guys.
Yeah.
See you, Jay.
See you, Jay.
Bye, everybody.
On that note, catch you later, Mindy.
Right,
on that note, I'm actually going to end the stream here now. So, look, thanks everyone who has Ricardo and Gary. Like, really cool to talk to you guys. Because awesome. I know we interact a lot in chats on Twitter and stuff like that. It's really cool to talk. So, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm happy to have you guys on Six Pack. At some point, like, come on, Six Pack, come and go all in, like, come and have fun. No, it's especially, it's relaxed. This is the intro. If you can do this, you can do Six Pack. It's easy.
Yeah,
it's just,
I really appreciate it.
No, awesome. All right, so on that note, we'll end the stream, and thank you everyone who's in the chat. Really good to see you all, and I'll catch you later. Steve McRae's there. Steve, go get some sleep. 7 a.m. and you haven't slept, mate. It's time to go to sleep. I think he's on. I think Steve's almost on Australian sleeping patterns because he seems to go to bed when I do, and I mean I go to bed late, so he's going to bed really late. But yeah, and yes, we all do rock, especially me, Steve, is what you meant to say. But anyway, I'll end the stream there.
See you later.
Thanks everyone who's been
guys.
here. Have a